don't know if you can see the very dead flowers up there, but if you can, just ignore them. Good morning, how are you doing? If you're new here, my name is Flo. Happy to have you. It is January, it is a new year. And do you know what a new year means? New books. And I bring you my biggest book haul ever, of all time. We have an insane amount of books here, and I am going on a book buying ban. The next few months are a book buying ban, and I mean that severely, except I do have a Waterstones voucher that does need spending. Other than that, I'm on a book buying ban. Most of these books I got as Christmas presents, and then there are a few that I bought myself. I have some incredible books here, I'm so grateful. We do have over 40 books here, so this is going to be a whistle-stop tour. And I know I ramble, but I am going to try my best not to, and we're going to try and do each book in like one sentence and then move on. Otherwise we're all going to be here forever, and we've all got lives. Or you guys probably have lives. Okay, without further ado, we're just gonna get into it, and we're gonna whistle-stop tour these. First up, I got Cleopatra and Frankenstein. I believe this is a literary fiction, and it's sort of a retelling of Frankenstein and Cleopatra, but I don't think it's actually a retelling. I think it's just using the characters. I think they meet at a party, and it's a sort of romance. I've heard good things. I think it's about like being in your 20s, growing up, all that fun stuff, and that sounds relatable. I then made a bit of an error in that I asked for Reckless by Elsie Silver, thinking that this was the first book in the series, but I have about 10 minutes ago found out it is not. I think it's the fourth one. So can somebody please tell me, can I read these as standalones, or do I have to buy the other three? Because my thinking is they're like romances I think about different couples, so hypothetically I probably can read them as standalones, but I don't know if that will like ruin the series for me. But can someone tell me, like, can I just read this one, or should I buy all the others? I don't want to read the blurb because I don't want to ruin it for myself, but I know these like small town cowboy fun romances. That's all I know about it. I then got, because Miss Hayley is always talking about it and it just sounds incredible, Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I know this is sci-fi. I haven't read a whole lot of sci-fi, but if Hayley loves it, I feel like it must be good. It says, the Earth is dying. Darrow is a Red, a miner in the interior of Mars. His mission is to extract enough precious elements to one day tame the surface of the planet and allow humans to live on it. The Reds are humanity's last hope. It sounds proper sci-fi with like fantasy elements, but I think this will be fun. I then got a copy of Yellowface, which I'm super excited about. This says, when Athena dies in a freak accident, June steals her unpublished manuscript and publishes it as her own under the ambiguous name Juniper Song. I know this is meant to be a dark comedy, and I think it's a lot to do with racism and the publishing industry. And I don't know too much about it other than that. Oh my god, I have fingerprints all over it. That's so sad. I haven't even read the first one or the second one, but this is the third book in the ACOTAR series. But I'm just, because I know that I'm going to read the entire series, I've just kind of been randomly asking for the series. So I got the second one for my birthday, and I asked for the third one for Christmas. So I'm just sort of collecting them as I go. I'm obviously not going to read you the blurb for this because this is the third series, but this is fantasy. It's about fae, I think. I actually don't know what fae are, but I've heard that word. And I will be reading the first book of this month or next month, and there will be a reading vlog of it, and eventually we'll get to this one, which by the way is humongous. This is 700 pages. That's too many pages. No, I am excited though. I feel like everyone loves this series and I'm slowly collecting them. I think I've got another 2 or 3 to go. Yeah, I've got another 2 to go, so next birthday, next Christmas. I then got a copy of After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is not actually one I've heard of. I've heard of a lot of her books, but I was looking this up the other day and reading the blurb and I just thought it sounded super interesting. It says, Lauren and Ryan met and fell in love in college. A decade later, their marriage reaches breaking point. Hoping to find a way to fall in love again, they come up with a plan to take a year off from each other. There is only one rule: they cannot contact each other. I just think that sounds super interesting. So it's a couple breaking up and they can do whatever they want. Presumably they can see other people if they want. They can explore the world. I don't know what they choose to do. But the only thing is they can't talk to each other for a full year. I just think that sounds really, really interesting. Loved all her books I've read so far, so I'm excited. I then got my hands on Icebreaker and Wildfire by Hannah Grace. These are stunning. I know nothing about these. I think they are hockey romances. Yeah, at least this one is. I don't know about the second one. I've never read a hockey romance. I know the world is obsessed with it at the moment. I know this is incredibly spicy. That's actually all I know about it, and it's a hockey romance. Look at all those colours together. That's stunning. I then also got my hands on the Twisted Lies Love series. I actually don't know which of these is first. I have a feeling this is the first one. And I've got all four. Have I read any of them or know what any of them are about? No. Let me quickly look up which one's first so I can read the blurb. Yeah, okay, Twisted Love is first, and then it's Twisted Games, Twisted Hate, and Twisted Lies. So, this says, Alex is a devil blessed with the face of an angel and cursed with a past he can't escape. Driven by a tragedy that has haunted him most of his life, his ruthless pursuits for success and vengeance leave little room for the matter of the heart. But when he's forced to look after his best friend's sister, he starts to feel something in his chest, a crack, a melt, a fire that could end his world as he knew it. Dark romances, sound super fun, everyone loves them, and now I have all of them. Just gonna put them up here out of order to upset everyone. I then have the only book, I think, in this pile that I actually bought myself, which is very rare. Normally these book hauls are just me going thrifting. Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, which I didn't actually read the blurb before, I just saw the cover and was like, sounds cool. It says, Eleanor Oliphant lives a simple life. She wears the same clothes to work every day, eats the same meal for lunch every day, and buys the same 2 bottles of vodka to drink every weekend. Eleanor Oliphant is happy. Nothing is missing from her carefully timetabled existence, except sometimes everything. So I'm guessing literary fiction. It feels like it's going to be one of those books about like life and following a character through a journey. That's literally every book. Following a character through a journey. Okay, I don't know what this is about, but I thought it sounded fun and it cost me £1, so. I then have The Beach Party by Nikki Smith, which has been lent to me by my aunt, and I just thought I'd include it. So it sounds like in the past, in 1989, there was a beach party and then an accident happened, and then it goes to the now timeline and it says, the truth about the summer has been collectively buried, but someone knows what happened that night. So thriller, now and then timeline, uncovering something that happened in the past. That sounds fun. Okay, so the next set of books were given to me as my Christmas present from my mum. She made me an advent calendar of books, and basically it was a mix of thrifted books and books from like World of Books, I think, and some that were new. So it was like she got them from all over the place. And I do have a full series on my shorts if anyone wants to check it out, of me opening like every single book, like one a day, as an advent calendar, and I am so grateful. She was so unbelievably generous to have made that for me, and she also picked good books, I will say. The woman did very well. I'm going to run through these. I'm going to try and do them kind of quickly because some people I assume will have seen those videos and some people will have not. I'm doing these out of order as well because I can't remember what order they came in. But we have got Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And this is about a woman called Tova, and her husband dies and she's working in an aquarium and she befriends an octopus, and that octopus is basically helping her figure out what happened to either her son or her husband, one of them. So I'm guessing it's like a thriller, maybe. The cover makes me think it's literary fiction, but the back sounds like a thriller, so I think it might be somewhere in between. Then we have The Book Thief. This is set in 1939 Nazi Germany and follows Liesel, a 9-year-old girl who's living with a foster family. Her parents have been taken away to a concentration camp. Liesel steals books. This is her story and the story of the inhabitants of her street when bombs begin to fall. I know this is a classic. It's rated very highly on Goodreads and I've been meaning to get to this for so long, and I'm really excited to finally have a copy. I've then got The First to Die at the End by Adam Silvera. I have already read the first book of this, which is called They Both Die at the End. I listened to that by audiobook, which coincidentally my mum actually was bought a copy, I think, by her sister. So we now have both books in the house, so I might try and steal that copy off of her so I can have both on my bookshelves. But we'll fight about that later. But I have the second one, which I'm very excited to read. This was what I opened on Christmas Day. I got Gilded and Cursed by Marissa Meyer. This is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. I think it's a duology. I think there are only 2 books. This one has stunning sprayed edges. I'm so excited. I have read this one by audiobook, but I didn't have a physical copy, so I'm so happy to finally have a physical copy. And this is the second one, which I have not read, but I'm very excited because this one leaves off in kind of a crazy place, so I'm excited to see what happens in this one. I then have Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This is set at an 80th birthday party on a private island, and I believe someone dies, and it's like all one family, I think, and they're trying to figure out who died. I have November 9th by Colleen Hoover. I believe this is about a couple. One of them is a novelist, which is just fun because I love reading books about writers. And I'm pretty sure they meet up once a year and like their romance happens one day every year. I think. I haven't heard too much about this book, but I think it's something along those lines. I then have Mexican Gothic. This follows a socialite and she receives a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin who is begging to be rescued from a mysterious doom. Not one I've heard of, but this sounds really exciting and I actually want to try and get to this really soon. We then have stunning copy of Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and this is a very short novel about a coffee shop in which time travel is possible and people come to this coffee shop and sit in these chairs and they can time travel. I don't know too much more about it than that, but I've heard really, really good things. Another one I'm really excited about is This Is How You Lose the Time War. This, I think, is some sort of romance set over a war. I think the war might be like a sci-fi dystopia possibly sort of setting. I'm not too sure, I don't know too much about this, but again, a very short read, but I've just heard magnificent things about this. Another one I've not heard of is The Last Interview of Ada Fenn. This follows an 84-year-old woman who dies and is presumed to have died of natural causes, and then a murder investigation is launched. They think that actually she didn't die of natural causes and she was murdered. So not one I've heard of, but sounds interesting. I then have The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I have a couple of their books, but I'm actually yet to read any, which is bad and I should do it. I finally got a copy of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I've heard just fabulous things about this. This is about a woman who makes a bargain to live forever, and this is one that blew up on TikTok ages and ages ago, and I just never got around to it, but I just think this copy is stunning and this is one high priority list to get to this. I then have a series of historical fictions. We have A Girl Called Sampson, which follows a girl called Deborah Sampson in the American Revolutionary War. We have Horses of Fire, which follows Troy's strong yet misunderstood women as they take centre stage in the most famous war in history. And then we have She Who Became the Sun, which is set in a famine-stricken village in China in 1345. All three of these I don't know a whole lot about. Historical fiction is definitely a genre I've read a lot less of, but it's exciting to have some good options, and all three of these look absolutely stunning and I think could possibly be 5 stars, all of them. Then we have a book that I am so unbelievably excited to get to, and that is Alone With You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. I have read The Atlas Six and half of The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake, and she just has the most poetic writing. But this is quite different, I think, from her other books. This is a love story. I don't think it's considered a romance, but it's called a love story. I think it's like literary fiction. Follows a girl with bipolar, and I think she's in hospital, and she meets a doctoral student, and I think it's the story of their relationship, and it's meant to be stunning. And I'm very, very excited. Then we have We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. The blurb says, "We are liars, we are beautiful and privileged, we are cracked and broken, a tale of love and romance, a tale of tragedy." I didn't realise this was a romance, I thought this was a thriller, but I'm guessing it is a romance by that blurb. But I've heard very good things again, so looking forward to it. Then we have a few more romances. We've got Love Theoretically, which I think is academic rivals to Lovers. Then we have Honey and Spice, which I know is about a radio DJ, and I don't know too much more about that. I'm not sure what the tropes are in this one. And we have Secretly Yours, which I think might be second chance romance. It's about a couple who met when they were 14, so I'm guessing so. Or possibly it's childhood friends to lovers. All three of these again, not too sure on the tropes, but very excited. We then have the first book that I opened in this advent calendar, and we were off to a strong start because we got The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is about a girl called Avery who inherits, I think, a lot of money from a billionaire, but she doesn't know the billionaire, so that's a bit random, and then in order to get the money, she has to basically do a bunch of trials, I think. Okay, 4 more. I've got a book called Magic Tides, which I've never heard of and does look to be a novella, and I actually have no idea where this is from, if it's from a series, if I can read this as a standalone, so if anyone knows, please let me know, because I've been trying to Google this and yeah, I'm still none the wiser, so if anyone knows, please let me know. Then we have a book called Neon Gods, which is another one I've not heard of, but sounds great. This is a Persephone and Hades modern retelling. I think it's a romance, so should be good. Unspeakably hot, according to the cover. I'm so excited to read this. This is Bunny, and it is about a cult, I think in a university. I don't know too much about it other than it's meant to be very messed up, very crazy, and it just sounds right up my alley and I'm so excited. I feel like for once in my life I haven't rambled and I've actually been quite concise. Somehow this video is still going to be 40 minutes long, I know it, but I feel like I've actually moved at a good pace for once. Because we're at the last book. We have The House Under the Cerulean Sea, which I think is meant to be quite a wholesome book. I think it's about a orphanage of kids who have all got magical powers, and yeah, so it follows a guy called Linus, and he has to travel to an orphanage where 6 dangerous children reside. Linus must somehow determine if they could bring on the end of days. So it's kind of like maybe fantasy, magical realism, fun times. Alright, that is every single book that we have to chat through today. We have some great books. I am very excited for this year's reading. So many books on here that I am dying to get to. Quite a few that I don't really know a lot about, but I still think I'll enjoy and I'm excited to get to. Feeling very grateful that my lovely friends and family and boyfriend and everyone have got me such lovely books. They're very wonderful. But thank you very much for being here. I do say this every time, but I really, really do appreciate you sticking around. And if you want to subscribe, hey, it's Christmas. Yeah, it's not Christmas anymore. I'll think of a new excuse. But you should subscribe. But I hope you have a lovely, beautiful rest of your day. Good night.